What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Anfernee, and in this video I want to talk about how you can save $10,000 while still being on a minimum wage salary. Now that may sound like an impossible task, but I feel like I have some savings hacks, some personality and some consumption hacks that will help you save a large amount of money. Now the purpose of this video is not to just get to that $10,000 number. This video is going to do a breakdown of the habits that great savers have in an attempt to provide some inspiration for some changes that you may be able to make if you're trying to save a little bit of money. And if you think you go on to find any kind of value in this video, then hit that like button for your boy. And if you want to see more content like this, then hit that subscribe button as well. Also, as a little bit of a treat for you clicking onto this video, if you go down into the description and sign up to the public app, they will give you a free stock just for going over there and signing up and not even having to deposit any money. They're just giving away free money at this point. And the first thing I want to discuss before we start talking about saving a whole bunch of money is what all great savers have in common. By observing some of the habits that the great savers have in common, we'll be able to pick apart their best savings habits and see what exactly makes them so good at keeping their money after they decide to save it. So this is sort of going to be a radical shift from observing people who just make a lot of money, but instead observing people who have great savings habits. So that's what the rest of this video is going to consist of. I'm going to showcase the 5 best habits that great savers have in order to use that to build habits to help save you money. And one of the first goals that big savers have in common is that they are planning well in advance for major purchases. Now I'm going to talk about planning for a house later in this video, but I'm talking about major purchases in this sense as planning for a car, planning for a wedding, planning for a vacation. Great savers plan for these big expenses well in advance of when they're going to happen. So that way the month or the week of that you're planning on spending all of this money, you won't have to come out of pocket a ton and blow your whole monthly budget on one item. And a great way that you can go about planning financially for major purchases is by putting a little bit of money aside each month leading up to the day of that purchase. Now I know this sounds like common sense, but if you plan on going on a $2,000 trip, or if you plan on buying a $10,000 car, you may be able to make consumption changes to save $10 a day. That'll get you $300 a month, or get you almost $1,600 in 1 year towards your savings goal or towards that major purchase. And I think that by breaking down your consumption habits into daily small decisions that you may be able to change in order to save more money, it will motivate people a lot more in order to save money. So instead of stopping at McDonald's on the way home, you may be able to cook that frozen meat that you had in the freezer instead and save a little bit of money. Little changes like this where you pay for convenience can result in major savings in the long run. And the next common goal that great savers have is the goal of owning their own business, or the goal of working for themselves. Now in an effort to save money, there also has to be an inert motivation to make as much money as possible. And when you're only making money through one revenue stream, you kind of see yourself as having a glass ceiling on top of your head, because you can't control when you get a raise, you can't control what your salary is or how many days off a week that you get. Everyone is telling you what to do at all times. But when you have the goal of starting your own business, you are now going to be working for yourself, meaning that your income potential can be as low or as high as you want it to be, depending on how hard you want to work. And this goes hand in hand with saving a lot of money, because if you want to save money, you have to also make money. So even if you are working a minimum wage job now, my advice would be, if you want to save the most money possible, then start branching out into different side hustles. Start finding ways to make extra money outside of your regular job so that you can then accelerate your financial journey. I know many times jobs, especially minimum wage jobs, take a lot of time and energy away from you as a person, and maybe even your mental health. But if you can find at least 1 hour in a day, or at least 30 minutes a day, to work on some other stream of revenue, eventually that revenue stream will probably overtake your minimum wage job, and then you'll be able to make money doing something that is not so tiresome and start to save some really big numbers along the way. And the next common goal that great savers have in common is the goal of buying a home. And I'm not just talking about the down payment of buying a home, I'm talking about the actual process of buying a home and getting a mortgage in order to save money. Now to me, this was a completely foreign concept until I actually experienced the expenses of renting a home versus buying a home. You see, in my personal situation, when I graduated college, my wife and I moved to a rural part of Alabama where we were paying $1,500 a month for a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. Now that may not sound very expensive in most parts of the country, but in Alabama that is a little bit above the median range. So my wife and I then decided to make the decision to buy a home where we now pay $1,200 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. So overall that's about $300 a month in monthly savings. Now I know you're going to say, yes, I had to dish out a 5% down payment on the home in order to get it, so that sort of offsets the rent cost. But what I would respond to that comment is that if you know you're staying in the area for more than 5 years, more than 7 years, and you plan on putting roots in an area, it doesn't really make sense to continue renting a house, because it's overall going to be more expensive than if you decide to save up for a down payment to get a mortgage on the home that you would own. And the monthly cash flow is not the only way that you can save money with a house. You also build equity in your home through natural appreciation of real estate prices, and then you build even more equity as you you pay back your mortgage, so that by the end of the 30 years, you will probably be in complete control of a $300,000 to $400,000 asset, whereas if you're renting for 30 years, you won't have anything at the end of it. While yes, renting does give you more freedom if you're trying to change locations a lot, but if you plan on staying in one place for a while and putting some roots down, I would definitely recommend you actually save money by spending money to buy a house. And the last common goal that many of the best savers have is the goal of educating their children early on about financial health and financial literacy. Now, I think my biggest regret as a young adult was not knowing anything about financial literacy and making a lot of mistakes early on that could have been avoided had I just known a little bit more about how to manage my finances. And many of the great savers do the exact opposite by educating their children early on and getting them excited about learning about finances, so when they do actually start to make money on their own, they are prepared for the real world environment and they know how to be responsible and not how to go crazy spending as soon as they get a little bit of money. Teaching your children about how taxes work early on and teaching your children about how to put money back for a nest egg is essential, because the earlier you start and earlier you get your finances together, the more time your money will be able to compound and the bigger your nest egg will be when you're ready for early retirement. And by teaching your children about how to save money and how to be financially responsible, you also going to be disciplining yourself by being financially responsible at the same time and not letting your children see you give in to temptation and wasting money on unnecessary items. So even if you don't have children at the time, I think it would be great to go ahead and mentally prepare for that conversation so that when it does come up, you'll be able to put your children or your future children in the best position possible to be financially successful. And the last common goal that most great savers have is the goal of retiring or even retiring early. Now, in this video, I talked about saving money a lot. I talked about putting money back into a savings account, but in reality, once you have an emergency fund that is funded with about 3 to 6 months of your expenses, you then want to start to move your money into investment accounts so that your money can earn interest and begin to grow for you. And this is a common goal for great savers because they know that the money that they're not using today, they can then put to work for them for years until they need it at some point in the future. And that allows them to have even more financial security for the future, knowing that they don't have to depend on their W-2 jobs until the day that they leave this earth. And I make a ton of videos about financial freedom and how you can fast track your way to it. So if you want to see more content like that, then subscribe to the channel. But I just want to say that if you want to be a great saver, you do have to have the future in mind. You do have to have the end of the journey in mind so that you know where you want to get to. $1,000 a year is attainable. $10,000 in a year may be attainable, but the goal is to have 6 or 7 figures at some point when you're ready to stop working so that you never have to worry about money again. But with all that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you found any kind of value in this video, or if you think you learned how to save some new money in new ways in this video, then drop a like on the video for your boy, as it really does help the channel out. Also, if you want to see more content like this, then hit that subscribe button, as I am releasing a ton of new content in the coming weeks and even months. However, I don't want you to leave this video without getting a little bit of a treat, and that treat is by you going down into the description and signing up to the public app, where if you sign up to the public app, they will give you a free stock just for signing up. I hope that helps you save a little bit of money, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.